G'day guys, welcome back to Outer Range 4x4. Been a little bit of a while since I last did a video. That's purely just because I'm a bit lazy. But today I've got another product review for you guys, and that's going to be the Oztent RS1 stretcher and the swag. So, a little bit of what they are. Well, they're both Oztent products, so if you've seen an Oztent RV tent before, this swag here is practically a baby version of it. It's built the exact same way, sets up the same way. It's just one person big instead of 3, 4 or 5. And the stretcher, built like a generic stretcher that you would normally get, but they're built in tandem with the swag so that it's got a couple of extra things that the swag fits perfectly on it and you can mount it directly to it. Right, so first thing I'm going to start with these is actually the price of them, so that way you're not going to watch the whole video and go, oh, you know what, I kind of want that, and the price turns you away. So I'll start with it. Swag, I got for $400. It's listed for $800 on the Oztent website, but you can get it cheaper from everywhere. I got it at Snowy's for $400. And the stretcher's about $200, pretty much the same everywhere else, but you can find places a little bit cheaper here and there, but straight off the Oztent website, going to be a lot more. Now the part you're obviously all here to see is going to be the setup of them, so always start with the stretcher. There's no point setting the swag up and then trying to pick it up and put it on the stretcher. So, you know, generic stretcher bag, sets up a generic way. You're going to get a little time lapse of this. Out of both of these bars as well, this one's a longer one. It's got a longer handle on the end here, so you do the longer one last, that way it's easy to get more tension on it. So, one cool thing about the stretcher, which I'll grab the camera and bring it a little bit closer. So you're probably thinking with the stretcher, why would you put a swag on it when it locks around like this? Well, see this little bar here, and then you see this wing nut right here. Loosen these up, you swing this bar down, you actually click them in here, tighten it back up, do that on all 4 corners, makes it a lot more sturdier. So once you've put the bars on the end, that's a pretty much generic stretcher setup, but then once you've done all the little wing nuts and the little crossbars on the sides, that's the stretcher pretty much done. All you do, build the swag, put it on top. As well, if you already own an Oztent, you probably noticed the bag is pretty much set up the same. As I said, they're just a baby Oztent, literally the same thing, except for some reason as a swag, it's twice as big as a normal swag, and they're quite heavy, so that's the one downside of them. However, if you've got the space to carry it on your roof racks, they're definitely worth it. If I can find the zippers. However, different to the normal Oztent bags, you can actually send the zippers all the way down the sides and open the bag up fully. So in the bag, you're gonna have the swag and you're gonna have the mattress. I've got a little something extra in here that I'll show you what that is, but everything packs up in here. So out of the bag, the first thing you're gonna wanna grab is the swag. Packs up nice and tiny. As I said, it's gonna be the same system as an Oztent. So you probably really don't need to watch this if you already know how to do an Oztent, but yeah, I'm still gonna show you. So fold the PVC down. You're gonna have 2 sides. You're gonna have side B and you're gonna have side A. Once you fold that out, don't trip on the guy ropes. And if you go to the individual corners, stretch it out as much as you can. And then I'm gonna have to change the camera setup to show you this, but you're gonna have to pull it upwards. So you got this little Oztent tag here. What you can do is you can pull that up and try not to pull the swag off the stretcher, but if you go on the inside, there's these crossbars, and what you need to do is push both of them up. Once you've done that, reposition the swag back on the stretcher, make sure all the corners are flush. That's pretty much set up. And obviously, tie everything down, but that's the bare minimum. Now, on the corners of the swag and the stretcher, there's all these little hooks. So if you don't have the stretcher, this is what you use to peg it down. However, on the stretcher, there's some straps. What you do is run them through, and then there's another little ring down here. I'll give you a close-up, but you just run it back through that ring, Velcro it back on. Do that to all 4 corners and it's pretty much secured down to the stretcher. All right, this is a shot of the back, but what you have is at the back, you got these separate straps, and you can use these with a guy rope to tie it down. And then what you've also got is this one here. So this is one you'll normally peg it into, but it's what you can attach a stretcher to. So you grab this cable from down here, pull it down, and if you reach down the back here, there's this little ring. And all you need to do is try not to do it one-handed, but pretty much run it through this ring, tie it back down, and it'll look like it does at the front here. So once you've tied down all the four corners, what you want to grab out of the bag is your mattress. Now, you're probably thinking, this might not look like the comfiest thing. Won't lie to you, it's not. So, but I'll give you a better reason for you still using it. Once that's in there, pretty much it's just a fold-out mattress of foam, not an air mattress or anything, but I'll give you a close-up. Pretty much folds out and sits right inside. So if you already own an Oztent, as I said, this is pretty much going to be very similar to it. A lot of features here that the Oztents have. You got little windows up the top. You can see right down. Obviously you can roll them up and attach them. Same that I've done to the doors here. You know, both sides. And then the A and B letter marking for when you're folding it up and setting it up. Now, this one, obviously same as the Oztents, comes with an inbuilt awning. However, you can actually double it back as a fly as well, which I'll show you how to do both ways. And then you've got more little windows on the sides. You've got a massive back window here, and it's got zippers on the sides. Got little D-rings in there with guy ropes, so you can tie it out, prop it up with some poles if you want. That also rolls up and you can hold it here. And it has the bar in it, so it stays correct. But yeah, you can do that. You got more things here to tie it back to give you more space. I've never really used those unless I've put it down on the ground, but I think I've used it once on the ground. Normally I use it with the stretcher. And then, you know, more guy ropes, more guy ropes. And then one other little thing that I like that I've never actually found in another swag, it's got a little zipper in here. And that just goes straight into the swag. All that is for is a little tag in here for power. So I've done it once. I made myself like a USB extension thing, and what I did was plugged it into my sockets up here, put the swag down next to the canopy, ran that through, no worries. You don't need to bother taking a power bank in with you. You got power in there. It's handy if you like having a heated blanket as well. You can run all your cabling through there and you don't have to leave your main door open. Now, as any Oztent, obviously comes with some poles, comes with some guy ropes. It's got the Oztent high-vis guy ropes, which is obviously all over the swag. If you don't know what these are handy. See a torch light at night, actually highlights the guy ropes, so that way you're not going to trip on them, even though I've still tripped on them before. And the two poles it comes with are for the height of the awning or the fly when you set it up either way. And they're big enough that you can reach from the ground upwards when you've got the stretcher on as well. So I'll show you unwrapping the awning. But pretty much these little straps, undo those, there's three of them, one in the middle, two on the sides, and it rolls down. Now it has D-rings in the corner. That's for the poles, which I've got here, which I'm just gonna hopefully not drop those. Do a little time lapse of them because it'll take a while by myself. It's a lot easier with two people, as you know any awning is, but it's also got some little straps here that you can use to even put an extra pole in there if you want, and then along the front it's got them as well, so that way you can, you know, put a stabilizer pole across. But then with the awning too, before I set it up, it's got these little flaps here. You can tie this down at the front again, and that way it just creates like a tiny little wall just with the awning. Yeah, so I'll set this up now and I'll show you. Alright, so that's the awning setup. Unfortunately, it did take me like 4 minutes because I kept dropping the poles and I kept dropping the garbs and I dropped the pegs and then I forgot the bit for the drill because I use just your standard drill-in pegs because the pegs that come with that, they're just metal ones. They're not the best, you know, they kind of bend when in the ground as any metal peg does. However, that's the awning setup. It did take me a couple minutes. Obviously, the swag is a 30-second swag, but that is to the bare minimum that I showed you earlier once you just put it up and click everything in, put the mattress in. So with the awning, it probably doesn't sit the highest, you know, considering this is my height against it and I'm 6'3", so, you know, you're not really going to stand under it. However, once you put a chair under here and you sit under here, it's quite nice. But, you know, it's really nice in the morning once you're in your swag, you get up, you still got shade and it's not straight out into the rain or whatever. But, you know, you can set it up with one guy rope and the poles that come with it. Obviously, these guy ropes came with it. The pegs didn't, but you can use whatever pegs you please. And then once you set up as a fly, all it is, I won't set up as a fly, however, I'll just bring the awning back. It pretty much literally just folds back and you do the exact same setup. So it's time for the pros and cons of what I do and don't like. Now, I like a lot about this swag. There's only a couple of things I don't like, so the cons list will be pretty short. However, pros list compared to some other swags, it's pretty good. It's pretty extensive. So we'll start with the pros. When I'm talking about this swag and stretcher as well, I'm going to be talking about both of them, not them separately. If I'm going to talk about each individual item separate, I'll talk about it, you know, when I talk about the mattress, I'm not talking about it with the stretcher. So I'll specify which part I'm talking about. However, for now, I'm going to talk about both of them together. So first pro on the list has got to be, it's Oztent. You really can't go wrong with an Oztent product. But yeah, it's really comfy to sleep in once you've got the stretcher and that mattress overnight. I don't think I have had a terrible sleep in this once. I have gotten wet before and it leaked once, which I will explain why. But yeah, with the mattress in there by itself, and if you don't have the stretcher underneath, it's not the comfiest. So if you are looking at getting this without the stretcher, I would suggest getting a mattress upgrade. But if you're getting both of them together, you're not going to need it because of the fact that the stretcher sags and the mattress is quite soft. It might be thin, but it is soft. So once the stretcher sags underneath, you're fine. Yeah, having the awning on it is very handy because, as I said, you know, put your chair under there, put a little table under there, and you pretty much got your whole setup right here. I'll bring it into the light. But yeah, I kind of do set it up as a fly most of the time because normally I had the awning on my car, which I've now removed. So I'll probably be using this one a little bit more. But yeah, awning's pretty good. Obviously, once you set it back up as a fly, there's a problem with it leaking, which I'll get to in the cons. Another pro is obviously, however many guy ropes it has already on it, it's got 2 on the back, 2 on the front, and then it comes with, I think, another 4 or 5, obviously for these, and then you can tie down extra points. Another pro is how many tie down points it has on it, both the swag and the stretcher. Now, swag by itself, it's got each corner, and then it's got an extra one on the back corners. It's got the middle, obviously both corners come out the front again. It's got the front ones, which I've tied down to the stretcher, but then it's also got these ones too to create like just an extra little wall here, which helps stiffen it up. And obviously on the awning as well, as I mentioned earlier, it's got these little straps here. You can even use these to tie it down if you really want. If it's, you know, got the awning out properly, use these to tie it down just to get some water runoff. I like the amount of windows it has. It's obviously got one on each side. It's got this massive back one. And then obviously on the front, it's got these ones up the top here, but then it's also got this one. You know, I have slept a couple times with just the mesh open. Sorry, the mesh closed, the canvas open, so, you know, you get some nice airflow in, back window open. It's great for the summer. That pretty much covers the list of pros on the swag. And as for the stretcher, it's a stretcher. There's not really too much to say other than, you know, it's got all those straps and stuff that you can strap the swag down to. Now, it's not just this swag. You can use plenty of other swags on it as long as they fit the dimensions of the stretcher, which I'll leave the link in the description so you can go and have a look, see if you've already got a swag. But the best part I do like about them is these crossbars here. Adds extra stability to it. I've slept on normal stretchers before. They tend to rock around, but with these, this doesn't. And really durable stretcher as well. Like, it's obviously heavy, it's big, but you know, it's durable. So, a couple cons. First one, as I did kind of mention before with the mattress, when you have the swag by itself and no stretcher, now I've only slept with the swag once and it was on concrete. Probably wasn't the best idea. It probably might be a little bit different on some grass, maybe a mat under it. That mattress is not comfy by itself. Obviously, as I said, I haven't upgraded it because I got the stretcher underneath and I never really use it without it. So if you're not planning on getting the stretcher or you only want the swag, you definitely might want to get a mattress upgrade. However, the other con following the mattress upgrade, the way the bag is stored, you have to fold the mattress in. So that's why that one works really well, because it folds across the bag. Whereas if you had one that you had to roll up, it's not going to fit in the bag and you're going to have to keep it separate. So slight unfortunate in that matter. Another con though, due to the PVC bottom and having air underneath, it's not really an Oztent design thing. It's just, you know, a swag stretcher combo. Underneath the mattress, you get a lot of condensation. The mattress gets quite damp. So I have bought, obviously, a condensation mat extra. It's not an Oztent one, it's from Anaconda, just a generic one. But that kind of solves the problem. Obviously, that's not an Oztent problem. As I said, that's just a generic swag stretcher thing. And another con I've had problems with quite a lot. So these seams here, due to the pole being right here, as you can see, water comes down, runs off, and it sits in this little spot here. It sits on the seam. So what happens then is, you know, water drips through the seam, and I'll show you the inside in a moment. It doesn't do it at the back, but it does it up the top. And it also does it at this seam here underneath where the fly is, and I'll show you that. So once you're inside, that starts leaking all through here where this little plastic bit is. And if you're sleeping right here, it starts dripping down onto you. If you've got anything in the bag up here, it'll drip in there and get it wet. I have solved it, obviously, using some silicone spray and a lot of seasoning the swag. But it's just something, the first use, I didn't know was going to happen, and annoyed me when first used it rained and everything I had in there got drenched. So following up on that last problem, I had the issue of all along here where the seam is. So this is now when it's set up as a fly as well. Pretty much sits backwards, and it's the same thing. Set it out flat like this, or as low as you want. You can tie it straight to the ground, otherwise use a pole. This seam up here, what happens when you've got this out, the water goes and it just sits right here. Slowly seeps through the seam, and then when you come sit inside the swag, it leaks through where this pole is up here, and same drama as over here. And you know, I've solved this one with a bit of silicone spray, as you can see the chemical marks off it. But yeah, it can be solved by seasoning and some silicone waterproofing spray, but it's just, you know, a bit annoying if you don't know what's going to happen. So overall, I love this thing. I don't think I'm going to get rid of it for a very long time. It's great when you're camping by yourself because, as I said, stretcher's really easy to set up, swag's really easy to set up. You can do all the awning and fly as well if you want. You don't need to, not necessary. I've probably, half the times I've used it, I've set those up, but great price for what it is for an Oztent product. It's just really good. So if you're looking at a swag to get for yourself, you need a stretcher as well, or you just need one or the other, then definitely have a look at these ones.